Good evening, ghoulies and ghosties and long-leggedy beasties. This is Alex, coming at you from the underworld, and welcome back to another episode of... This weekend, I'm reviewing the splatterpunk novella called Billy Silver by Daniel J. Volpe. And before I get started, I would like to note that although Volpe is a new independent author, he's quickly gaining a cult fan base. And rightfully so, because his work is pretty good. However, I would like to give everyone a fair warning that this book does unapologetically show the grit and grime of the punk scene, which, because of that, we have quite a few explicit moments in regards to verbiage, sex, and brutality. Also, if you're easily offended by extreme drug abuse and self-mutilation, then you might want to skip this review or at least the spoiler section. But with that said, let's go in and get ready to dive into the mosh pit and see what kind of fresh hell Billy has in store for us. I would like to brag about my copy of Billy Silver because it is signed by the author and he even took the time to say that my channel rocks. So yeah, this is totally flippin' sweet. And if you would like to purchase your own signed copy, all you have to do is go to the description section of this video, and you'll see that I have provided links to the author's Facebook and Instagram, where from there all you have to do is hit him up, and purchasing a signed copy through him should not be hard. Now, Billy Silver by Daniel J. Volpe is about a heroin addict named Billy, who is the lead singer for an underground band called Shitfist. And because of Billy being the kind of person he is, he gets kicked out of his own band because as they are to perform at a dive bar, he shows up so drunk and high, all he can do is just puke all over the audience. Well, from here, as he's down on his luck now more than ever before, he comes across a tattoo parlor that is offering $100 a pop to the first 5 volunteers, which all he has to do is offer up some flesh where the tattooist can practice on him before their grand opening. So because of this opportunity, he goes into the parlor and meets the drop-dead gorgeous tattooist named Talia. And as they flirt and make small talk, she eventually tells him that she has the perfect tattoo for him. From here, they go into her office, and she hooks him up with this really kick-ass sigil tattoo. However, after receiving this really bizarre geometric design on his bicep, he starts to have these god-awful nightmares about sex and mutilation. Also, self-mutilation has now replaced his drive for substance abuse. Then, he discovers that the root of his problems is the new tattoo he received, and he tries to remove that tattoo from his body. However, to his horror, he discovers that he's stuck with this design for the rest of his life. Billy Silver was published in 2020. A year later, a prequel followed called Talia. Volpe has said that Billy Silver is a book that he let loose with, and some of the characters, such as the dealers and Jeannie, were inspired by persons he saw in the news. Otherwise, characters like Billy and Talia were purely fictional. Also, Volpe noted that Billy Silver is a cautionary tale, and it was inspired due to the research he conducted on the opioid epidemic. Fun facts! Here's a few things you might not know about Daniel J. Volpe. Daniel J. Volpe's love for horror started at a young age when his grandfather unwittingly rented him A Nightmare on Elm Street. Eventually, Volpe published stories with Raven's End Press, Siren's Call Publications, Twisted Tales, Exile's Literary Magazine, Literati Publications, and he has self-published. Since Billy Silver is based on a lead singer of a rock band, I asked Volpe what kind of music he enjoyed. In reply, he said he loves wild metal, but will listen to anything. Also, he is a huge fan of Screamo. Now that we have that covered, it's time to move on to the spoiler section, which, if you haven't read this book before, I'm about to reveal some things that could ruin the experience for you. So if you would like to click away, I have provided a pinned comment at the top of all my other comments, and inside of that, you'll see that there's a timestamp. If you click on that timestamp, it will redirect you from the spoilers and bring you to the thoughts section. Now, you only have 17 seconds to do this, so ready, set, go! Since everyone's had the opportunity to click away, there are a few moments I would like to talk about that I will never be able to scrub out of my memory. To start with is the first dream sequence that Billy has after he received his tattoo, which this is when Billy castrates himself, then fries up his genitals, and after he's done, he eats them. Also, he decides to pull a G.G. Allen and eats his own shit. Then, after his genitals grow back, we have where Talia enters the room and starts to have sex with him, but in the middle of them doing the unskinny bop, she turns into this demon and anally rapes him with her tail. So, I know I just unloaded a lot on you there, but truth be it, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And due to all of the insane shit that goes down in this moment, it honestly felt like a written version of one of those old I Spy books where you just have to like sit back to take it all in. Also, aside from that, it really made me realize at this point that Talia could be a succubus who is connecting herself to her victims by the sigil tattoo. However, it doesn't ever say one way or the other exactly what she is. Now, I know that there is another book out there that kind of elaborates more on her as a prequel, but I haven't read that yet. So, due to the sexual nature that she has with her victims, I'm just going to assume for now that she is a succubus. Up next is a moment near the end of the book where we learn a little bit more about Billy's ex-girlfriend named Jeannie, which, truth be it, her whole side story could easily be the most disturbing elements of this book. Like, from beginning to end, Billy does nothing more than beat and degrade her with every opportunity. As a matter of fact, his abuse is so severe that by the time she does leave him, I don't think she knows how to exist without abuse being a part of her everyday life. Like, for example, instead of her going to get the help that she needs, she becomes a prostitute so she can pay for the heroin that Billy got her addicted to. From here, the book takes away all elements that could be romantic or erotic about that profession and shows how constant sex can be painful, so it really paints this as being another form of abuse. Yet, the most heartbreaking moment is near the end of the book, where Jeannie is looking in the mirror and she's reflecting on her life. And she wonders how she got to this level of being, because at one point, she had been healthy, she had been a B student, and she had been a high school track athlete. So, to see how Billy came into her life and destroyed her just as much as he destroyed himself was really upsetting. And I think that this does stand as a warning, because if you are with an individual who is abusive or toxic, you need to get away from them as soon as possible. If not, you're going to lose everything, including yourself. Finally, we have the ending where Billy has tried to remove the tattoo from his arm by skinning himself. However, the tattoo relocates from his arm to his chest, which makes him realize there's no escape. And due to him being the destructive person that he is, he decides if he's going down, he's taking others with him. From here, he goes on a killing spree where he kills the drug dealers. Then he decides to pay Jeannie a visit, but luckily enough, she's already dead due to a heroin overdose. But this still doesn't stop him from acting out some pretty sick tendencies. Like, for example, he ends up disemboweling her through the ass with a corkscrew. Then once her guts are out, he gnaws through them. And after he's done doing all of that nasty shit, he ends up going to the dive bar where Shitfist is performing, and he ends up locking himself and everyone else inside. Then he sets fire to the place. So as all of this is going down, the only people I really felt sorry for were Jeannie and those in the dive bar. Otherwise, Billy was such a horrible individual that once he was dead, all I could think was, thank God he'll never hurt another person. Also, I should have expected an ending like this, but truth be it, I really didn't know what to expect despite all of the red flags that came up. So for that reason, I was able to be held in suspense the entire time. I would like to take this opportunity to bitch about Billy. Now, before you think I'm a complete cold-hearted bitch, I would just like to note that I did feel sorry for Billy when he was a kid, because this was when his dad used to beat him and his mom, which caused him to run away at an early age. But as far as feeling sorry for him as an adult, hell no, Billy was an asshole. And seriously, he never took responsibility for any of his actions. All of his downfalls was someone else's fault. And even if the individual was completely innocent, he was like, no, it's because of them that my life is crap. Dude, get off the friggin' cross. Someone else needs the wood. And another thing, just because life had dealt him a shit hand, he thought that he could destroy innocent people left and right without karma having its due. By the way, Billy, I just want to get real with you for a second here, because listen, I know you think that you're God's gift and everything because of your music and the summer sausage that you got hanging between your legs, but let me break it down for you. Had I been Jeannie and I had to deal with your shit, I would have taken me a hatchet and I would have hacked that summer sausage off, froze it, and saved it for hard times. You don't got to be attached to it for me to have my pleasure. Billy Silver is a piece of trash art that isn't afraid to show the grit and grime of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Also, even though this is an extreme novella, it does stand as a cautionary tale as it shows the dangers of addiction, sex work, domestic violence, and destructive personality types. Now, first off, I did say this work was a piece of trash art, and that doesn't mean it's a bad thing, because filth does have its place in entertainment, especially when it's trying to make a point or it's imitating what we see in life. And in this case, Billy Silver does both. As far as art imitating life is concerned, the main focus of this book regards an underground musician who is a heroin addict that lives in the slums of New York. And due to the hardcore lifestyles I've read about in autobiographies or have seen in documentaries regarding this subject, I believe that Volpe has done a spot-on job capturing the explicitness of that scene. As a matter of fact, he does such a good job, you can almost smell the vomit waft off the bathroom floor. Then we have the book's cautionary subjects, and among those, the strongest topic focuses on the dangers of addiction, which addiction is seen throughout this work by not only focusing on drug abuse, but also alcoholism and even self-mutilation. And to give some examples without giving away spoilers, we have a drug overdose, Billy gets kicked out of his band due to substance abuse, and even though Billy's self-mutilation is caused by the sigil tattoo that he receives, it seems like this is being used as a distractant where he can't focus on his other deeply seated problems, which of course he never confronts to start with. Up next, we have the dangers of sex work, and sometimes this topic can be whitewashed with elements that might seem erotic or romantic. However, this book removes all of those elements entirely and shows how abusive sex work can be. Like, for example, we see how some sex workers don't get paid their full amount, and we also see how sometimes they're kept in a low state of being so they can never advance. But the book does really focus on how even though some sex workers might be in pain due to the amount of sex they're having or other injury, when they're expected to work, they have to work. So yeah, this is really presented in an abusive light. The next subject regards the after effects of domestic abuse, where in some cases the abusive home can cause a child to grow from a victim into a victimizer. Like with Billy, he grew up around an abusive father. Then when Billy became an adult, he also became abusive. And I don't know if his girlfriend Jeannie had ever been in the thought process of trying to save him or fix him or something like that. But regardless, we see how as she stays with him, she loses everything that she once was. And due to the abuse that she suffers from him, it kind of gets to a point where she doesn't know how to cope in life without abuse. So regardless to if she thought she could fix him or not, this shows that if you are around an abusive person or a toxic person in general, you can't fix them. You can't save them from themselves. And if you try, there's a good possibility that you will lose everything in the process. The final subject regards destructive personality types, which Billy is the worst. And even though he has zero respect for himself, he has a huge ego. Like, even though he abuses his body with drugs and alcohol, he thinks his shit doesn't stink because of his music and also how well endowed he is down there. Then, to top off those traits, he has no respect for anyone else. Like, he's the reason why his girlfriend got addicted to heroin, and then after she became an addict, he just abuses her nonstop. Also, he has no problem believing that if he's going down, he's going to take you with him. So overall, I think the Billy character stands as a warning, because when you have someone who's that self-destructive and also just that destructive in general with everyone around them, you need to stay away from that individual, because if not, you can lose everything. Like, they can destroy your entire life and not feel bad about it. At the end of the day, Billy Silver didn't scare me, but there were quite a few repulsive scenes, and it felt like I was reading about the love child of Gigi Allen and Sid Vicious. Also, due to its quick pacing and realistic characters, I was able to read this book in one day. Billy Silver by Daniel J. Volpe isn't for everyone, especially if you're not a fan of explicit language, grotesque sex, or mutilation. However, with that said, I honestly couldn't put the book down, and going into this video, I didn't expect to speak about its subject matter as much as what I did, but once I got started, I couldn't stop, so in my opinion, that's a sign of a good book. And even though this is an extremely brutal book, it is very well written, and it did keep my attention. Also, I found that it was really interesting in regards to how the sigil tattoo affected its victims. So, if you're looking for a grotesque book about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, I do recommend Billy Silver. On to the questions. My first question is, what is a horror book you would recommend about rock and roll? My second question is, who are some of your favorite music groups or music singers? Personally, I like to keep a lot of my taste in the 90s, so some of my favorites are Alanis Morissette, Tori Amos, Courtney Love when she was with Hole, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Smashing Pumpkins, and those are just my top 5. But yeah, I totally love 90s music, and I do love a lot of the 80s bands too, especially when it comes down to goth. So yeah, I have a pretty wide range, but lately I've been just in a 90s mode, so I've been listening to a lot of 90s music. Before I close out, I would just like to give everyone an update on my grandma, which, thank you for your good thoughts, positive vibes, prayers, all of that. Thank you. She is still in rehabilitation. They have not been able to make too much leeway. The infection and fever is gone, but she's having some pretty bad problems with her blood pressure going up anytime she attempts to get out of bed or walk around. So this is just kind of putting us in a limbo where she's not able to advance, but also at the same time she's not as bad as what she was. So, even though we're out of the woods in regards to how nasty that infection was and everything, we still aren't completely home yet. So, just please keep praying, keep the good vibes, keep me in your thoughts and all that good stuff. And, you know, I just really appreciate it. And hopefully the next time I do a video, she'll be home by then and everything will be back to normal. But I also would like to let you know that I'm probably not going to do a video next weekend, mostly because I've been in a very emotional place and I just need to take some time to myself, because if I don't, I'm just going to get bogged down in some of my hobbies where those start to feel like work and they no longer become enjoyable. So I definitely need to take that time for myself just to relax and recuperate. But I will keep my social media up to date and stuff, so I'm not going to drop off the face of the planet entirely. It's just that I'm probably not going to have another video until about 2 weekends from now. Now that it's time to close out the video, I would like to thank Lisa G, as well as J.L. Mulvihill, which J.L. Mulvihill is a young adult fantasy steampunk author, and her books are available in print, ebook, and audio wherever books are sold. Also, I would like to thank Melody Romeo, which Melody Romeo is a historic fiction fantasy author, and her books are available in print and ebook wherever books are sold. Also, I would like to thank Nicholas Gray, which Nicholas Gray is a horror author whose books are available in print, ebook, and audio wherever books are sold. Also, I would like to thank the artist Lisa Shin, which if you would like to check out her work, her Facebook page is The Art of Shin. Also, I would like to thank my mom and grandma. And if you're wondering why I'm thanking these wonderful people, it's because they've had the opportunity to contribute to my Patreon account. And if you would like to contribute as well, for $5 a month, I'll give you a shout out at the end of my videos. And if you have a certain profession you would like for me to tie to your name, just let me know and I'll mention that as well. Also, I do have a $10 tier available where you will, of course, receive the shout out, but I do creepy photography on the side, so at the beginning of every month, I'll send you over a creepy photo, and you can print it off, do whatever you like. So if you're able to do this, that's cool. If not, no sweat. I just hope you return to this channel so we can have a good time together. And if you would like to hunt me down on social media, links to my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok are all in the description section of this video, so be sure to hit me up. And if you have yet to subscribe to this channel, be sure to subscribe and click that notifications bell, because I do have more book reviews coming in the near future. So until we see each other again, I hope you have a great week, a happy Memorial Day, and sweet nightmares.